right, I'm the Flat Rate Master, and well, let's talk about why shops don't follow the 80-20 rule. If you're not familiar with it, the 80-20 rule means that 80% of your efforts result in 20% of your results, meaning that most of what you do doesn't mean anything. How that relates to auto repair is pretty important. You know, think about it. Waiters, I'm going to pick on them first. How much profit do you generally get from waiters? Usually very little. You know, you might get a brake job, you might get some filters, maybe in some weird case on a DVI, you might get a major repair, but 90% of oil changes are going to result in an oil change and some basic stuff. But the main reason I talk about this is so many shops just search out that 80% for no real reason. You know, head gaskets is a perfect example. You know, a vehicle comes in for a overheating complaint, loss of coolant complaint, and you're going to do a head gasket repair on a vehicle. Now, doing that head gasket repair opens a huge can of worms for a shop. Heads may be cracked, cause delays. Heads need to be sent out to a machine shop or remanufactured heads, and those can be questionable. You're putting a lot of, expectations on that repair being profitable when in fact they rarely are when it really comes down to it. You know, for instance, somebody has to take the heads to the machine shop or somebody has to call a machine shop. You add additional time to go pick it up. Heads crack and now you've got to source a new head. You got to call the customer. You wind up with a lot of added steps, and when it comes down to it, let's say that repair, you pull the heads off, you send them off to the machine shop. You're not going to leave that car dead in the bay. You're going to push it out to the curb. So then you got to push it back in. You have a lot of wasted efforts in a job that really isn't going to be very beneficial to you or even the customer. Think about it. How many times do you pull a head off and find, threads pulled out of the block? For instance, at the old shop, a 3.6 Chrysler product with a blown head gasket pulled threads out of multiple parts of the block and had to be time sorted. Now, obviously, the customer paid for that, but they opened a whole can of worms. In another instance, a LS engine pulled threads out of the engine. You know, the Toyota 4-cylinder that is famous for head bolt problems. Again, yeah, you can price those into the job or wind up having a surprise. But when it comes down to it, you're better off selling a remanufactured engine. In that vein, let's talk about used engines. Shop owners love to price used engines. Why? Because they're higher profit than a remanufactured. They get to make more margin. The problem is there are always complications with used engines. Off the top of my head, I can name you 30 engines that had to be replaced before they left the shop. At a 3.6 Chrysler, that the valve train was tapping so bad that it had to be replaced again. Another 3.6, zero compression on one cylinder because it was underwater. And when it comes down to it, yeah, you might make a little more profit on that used engine. The problem with that is the headaches that ensue from that actually cost you more money than you are making. Technician has to replace the entire engine harness because they cut it in the wrong place. Or you have to replace an oil pan because they damaged it with the forklift, or etc. Swapping over parts. Almost never is that properly accounted for. Now, I always price a used engine as a long block because I know that much stuff's going to have to be transferred. But even then, you usually wind up losing time swapping stuff over a lot of time. Other vehicles you probably shouldn't be taking in. Older vehicles. The age of a vehicle will severely compromise the quality of the repair because of parts being available and what kind of quality you can get. The added problems that come with it. You go to touch a wiring harness to unplug it and the insulation just falls off of it. Been there, done that. Stuff breaking that is unavailable or difficult to come by, or you have to make compromises of quality because the only thing available is doorman, etc. And while, yes, there are ways you can mitigate that, but chances are it's not going to be overall profitable for the shop to take in that kind of work. In that same vein, vehicles that you're not equipped to work on, taking in Mercedes-Benz or Land Rover or European, if you're not well versed in European vehicles, is going to cost you more money than you're going to make. The need of shop owners to, they want us to work on it, so we're going to work on it. And then your technician wastes a crap ton of time trying to diagnose something they're very unfamiliar with. They're sitting there in forums looking for answers to that question that they don't have an answer to, or they got to phone a friend, etc. You wind up losing money. Stick to what makes the shop money, because when it comes down to it, that's what's important for a shop, is to make money. And focusing on the stuff that costs you money is a bad idea. It costs the technicians who are flat rate money. It costs you money when you pay your technicians hourly. The more stuff that they do inefficiently, the less money you make. Taking in those old cars that, nobody wants to work on. There's a reason nobody wants to work on them. You're not making extra profit on it. You're costing yourself a lot of money trying to keep customers that really aren't your customers happy. And it's just costing money. So apply the 80-20 rule to your shops and kick that stuff out, because it's not going to make you more money. It's just going to cost you more time. And time is more valuable than the little bit of margin you're going to make on those kind of repairs. So hope this was helpful. As always, thanks for watching. I am the Flat Rate Master.